again, in a 7-minute episode, you're really able to deal with issues like that. But there's also this fun and frivolity. I think it celebrates children. It celebrates their ability to their imagination and their play.
I would say, yeah, all those things are true, but they're all life from God. You want him for his blessings, and you don't want him. And so I think all of these people who are skewing Christian, or culturally Christian, and some of them are, a lot of these names, sort of are more on the conservative side, some of them are on the more progressive side. But all of them are seeing the value of religion, in scare quotes, not the value of Jesus. And the problem with Jesus is that he claims exclusive loyalty and faith in himself. That Christianity is not just about having a nice sense of transcendence. It's not just about being able to rise above the banality of social media. It's not about having peace of mind because you're able to Sabbath and gratitude journal and meditate. That's not the power of religion, though that will be the fruit of many people as they live with Jesus. The goal of Christianity is Jesus. And if you are not satisfied with Jesus, then at the end, all those other things are going to fall away.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Shockers All podcast, and it's awesome to have you along with us on this train of destiny.
Wow.
It's Tim. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you.
I always surprise myself sometimes with these intros.
I'm excited about where the train of destiny is taking us.
Get on board.
Get on board.
You like trains?
I'm fairly neutral about trains.
Neutral.
Yeah. I don't have a strong affection for them or dislike.
I do enjoy trains.
Right.
I enjoy good train systems.
Okay.
It's funny, on the way home from football training last night, my son asked me, where do you think Sydney's transport system or train system is in comparison to other transport systems around the world?
Yeah, right.
Great question.
Great question.
I'd like to talk about this. And he's like, so Singapore's good, right? And I'm like, yeah, well, when I've been to Singapore, it's pretty good. And I think we mainly just gone, I enjoy a very good subway.
Oh, okay.
So New York subway is great, even though it's like rickety and the trains are ugly. My experience when I was there for 5 days, Is that because the system is good? Well, I think it's the idea that you can get, in a very small radius, you can go and hop on a train and go somewhere.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's what I love. So I like cities that you can explore via walking, and one of the ways you can do that is, oh, look, there's a subway, just go down the stairs and get on.
Yeah, pop out somewhere else, walk in that area.
Yeah. So London's the same, obviously, with the underground. Okay. That's so cool because you're just like, I know wherever I am in the main hours of the day, I can walk down these stairs and I won't have to wait longer than 5 minutes for a train, for example.
Yes, okay, yeah.
So that's what I enjoy, the efficiency of getting around.
Yeah.
And the reason that my son asked me was because he catches the Sydney Metro every day to school now.
Yep.
And I love the Sydney Metro. I think it's brilliant. I feel like you're in a modern city when you catch it. The stations are beautiful.
Yep.
So I really enjoy that. So
well done, New South Wales government. Thank you.
Well, we can thank them for something.
Yeah. What has the New South Wales government ever done for us? Oh, the Metro. Oh, yeah. Yes, yeah. But other than the Metro.
Well, I mean, I'm an advocate for moving the Metro to everywhere.
Yeah.
Replace the train lines.
Yeah. I mean, that's a massive project.
I mean, they have started doing it on the T. Oh, gosh. I'm going to get in trouble for my son. It's not the T8.
I don't know.
T3.
Okay. At the risk of boring everyone who hasn't already switched off.
How dare you?
I don't have the same affinity for city trains. I actually don't have a high affection for cities. Like some people really like to go to the cities of the world. They really want to see New York or whatever. Whatever.
Okay, I'd probably be like that.
Yeah, okay. I could care less about cities. They're fine. But
I could care less about cities.
But like countryside, I quite like.
Okay.
So I actually would, probably somewhere on my bucket list would be doing one of those like Orient Express type.
Oh, the Garn.
Yeah, something like that, where you're living on the train for a few days, you got the dining car.
The Indian Pacific.
Something like that has, that's got a kind of, romantic kind of feel to the whole experience that
Would you have a moustache and a top hat?
I would try to grow one just for and a monocle.
It feels like that fits though.
Yeah, so in terms of trains, I think that's where my mind goes. A good train experience would be something like that. Not that I've ever experienced it, but yeah, inner city trains, I'm like, sure. I mean, it's nice, it's convenient, but
the Orient Express is a crazy train for how long it. I don't think they run it regularly anymore. I think they do it as more of a tourist thing.
Okay,
but that I would be keen to do that.
As long as you don't get murdered by every other passenger.
Yes, and who's the detective? It's not Miss Marple. It's
Poirot.
Oh, Poirot, of course.
Hercule
Poirot, mon ami. Was everyone mon ami?
Mon ami, yes.
Okay, let's get into what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about Bluey, Tim.
Oh, fantastic.
Now,
best show on TV.
I'm glad you raised that because I'm going to put it out here.
Ooh.
And I want to see what you think. I think Bluey is one of the greatest Australian TV shows ever made.
Yeah, I mean...
what else would you put up there, though?
Look, Water Rats.
Water Rats? Gosh.
That's just nostalgia speaking.
I used to watch Water Rats too. One of the creepiest episodes I ever watched was a guy that had his victims, but he took the hair of his victims.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit wild.
But I think I was watching it, I was a little bit too young, and there was this scene where a guy, clearly in a wig, but was the bad guy, was creeping in a house, and I've still got that memory.
Oh,
and it kept me awake that night.
There you go. Yeah. No, that was in the... I think I've got memories attached to that. So Water Rats, Blue Heelers, and...
Blue Heelers is the most dangerous town in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Small country town in Victoria. And a country practice. I used to watch those with my mum. As I was a sort of end of primary school, lower high school. So yeah, I've got sort of memories attached to those ones. But in terms of other Australian TV shows, yeah, I mean, I can't think of many others.
I don't know what else there would be.
I mean, I'm sure there's tons of them. But
I mean, there is, but only old shows that I've watched are comedy shows. I don't know anything else that is like, you need to watch this show.
Yeah, Sean McAuliffe, Mad as Hell. I used to really enjoy that.
That's just you're a Sean McAuliffe fan.
I do. I really enjoy Sean McAuliffe's sense of humour. But Bluey. Tell me more about Bluey, Joel.
Well, I love Bluey because I think I have children of the right age.
Yes.
I think that's first of all. But I think it also, it's very, we've talked a lot on this podcast about things that we've experienced or cultural artifacts that we experienced that kind of tell the story about where we are in our lives at the time. I think I've talked about it before, like why did I like bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn and things like that when I was in high school, and then we traced it back to kind of like the anger that came after or around the time of 9/11, that consumerism had reached a peak.
Yep.
And everything was going to keep getting better, and then 9/11 was the kind of nadir of that. But the thing about Bluey is you watch it, and I've got 3 reasons, 11, actually they're 10, 11, 10 and 5 are my children's ages. And so I love sitting down and watching Bluey with my kids because there's so many lessons in it for a parent, just as well as there's entertainment in there for the kids. And the fact that they packed it all in to a 7-minute episode, I think is like quite brilliant. The one there's episode that sticks in my mind, and the reason that we're talking about this is because Louise Perry wrote an article on it. The one that sticks in my mind is there is a entire episode where they're out the front of a Chinese restaurant waiting for their takeaway order.
Okay.
And the dad, Bandit, is getting frustrated at the kids because he just wants to sit and read the paper while he's waiting for the Chinese takeaway to be ready.
Yep.
And Bluey and Bingo are bothering him. And Dad, I need to do a wee, I need to go to the toilet. And then they he's like, oh, just go and Bluey gets her paws dirty. And he's like, go and wash them under the tap. She turns the tap and she's like, Dad, I can't turn it off. And then it starts flooding. And then Bingo's like, I need to go to the toilet and all this stuff. And the lesson in it is you will miss this when it's gone.
Right.
As a parent.
Yep.
Like you actually should just be in the moment and spend time with your children.
Yep.
Instead of doing the thing of like, oh, I want to read the newspaper. And so interestingly, Louise Perry says there are times when she watches Bluey, which crazily enough, Bluey is the most streamed show in the US for the second year in a row. This is the end of 2025.
Yeah.
which is crazy that it's that popular because it obviously started in Australia, spread to the UK, and now it's gone crazy in the US as well. She was saying that there are times when it deals with so many different issues that are interesting or important to her, and it's brought a tear to her eye as well. And I would admit that when I watched the Chinese restaurant, it's called Takeaway, is the episode, it brought a tear to my eye as well. It's like, oh, I'm failing to do this as a parent. Why am I worried about, why am I looking at my phone when I could just be sitting enjoying time with my children? So it actually taught me to go put my phone away to a degree. So I think that's one of my favourite things about Bluey. But also just there's things, and Louise Perry mentions this, it talks about infertility, like Bingo and Bluey's mum, her sister comes over, but they're upset that she doesn't spend as much time with the kids, and she doesn't want to spend time with the kids because she's unable to fall pregnant herself. Yeah. And that's not really picked up. I would say that a lot of children wouldn't really pick up that theme. Yeah. But for adults to pick that up and go, so it's again, in a 7-minute episode, you're really able to deal with issues like that. But there's also this fun and frivolity. I think it celebrates children. It celebrates their ability to their imagination and their play. Some of the things that Bingo and Bluey doing, like I've seen my children do those things as well. Yep. Like as an example, once when my kids were younger, I think they were about 4 and 2, the two oldest ones. They're in the backyard, and I hadn't come home from work. My wife was at home with them, and they were playing around in the backyard. And you're like, "Yes, you're going shopping." And sometimes on a Friday night, my wife and I would get a bottle of wine to have when we had pizzas for dinner. And they're like, "We will be getting 5 bottles of wine, thank you." And so like if the neighbours are hearing this, they're like, "Geez, they like a fair bit of wine." Yeah. But it was like it just captures that lovely part of a child's imagination that they make sense of the world through play. Yes, and they're doing those things, and that I think that comes across in Bluey all the time. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I've gone on wax lyrical about Bluey a fair bit. Have you watched much of Bluey?
I haven't watched it a lot. I've watched some. My kids are not at the target age, though my daughter particularly loves the episodes. And so we have watched a few as a family, and when we've had young kids over at our place, we've watched some episodes. You're right, like they always bring a tear to your eye. Like they're very, just so cleverly done and worded. And one of the things, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page, and there's a quote here from the creator who says that there's no counting and there's no explicit teaching or learning. So it's not like some of these other kids' TV shows where they're trying to teach you particular skills through rote learning. So, you think Dora the Explorer, there was always trying to memorize 3 things and counting in Spanish or whatever it might be. Obviously Play School, Sesame Street, teaching you letters and numbers. There's a lot of these kind of very educational type shows. You probably at the other end of the spectrum, you've got all the nutty, crazy shows. Again, my kids are not the right age to know whatever is current.
Like Teletubbies.
Well, the Teletubbies, and then kind of it's gone from there, In the Night Garden and all these other kind of just extreme weird things that and now there's TV shows for kids with they're flashing colours and they're 1.5 second cuts, and they're all these kinds of things to just draw kids' attention and just keep them attentive, not actually do anything substantial.
There's some YouTube videos I'm like, this is terrible, guys. You can't watch this. Yeah. I don't get them to turn it off.
Yeah. Whereas what Bluey is doing, this is the quote from Joe Brum, the creator, is it's just showing them playing, but it's to show parents that the kids aren't just mucking around. They're learning to play, learning to share. Yes. And so this learning through play is a massive field in child psychology and child developmental psychology, that play is the way that we learn things, and children particularly, but even by adults, we still do the same thing, just in different ways. And so that's what they're doing. They are learning how to play. They are learning empathy. They're learning sharing. They're learning concern. They're learning fun and frivolity through the play. And so it does that, but without lecturing you in it. It shows, it doesn't tell. Yeah, and I think it just does that so wonderfully. And so that, I agree. Like, it's just brilliant from all the things that I've seen.
Another line from Perry in that article, she says the show is good. It never speaks down to children. And in fact, it treats their cultural enrichment with the utmost seriousness. I really like that.
Yeah, it honours who they are. And so as a kids pastor, as someone who does want to uphold kids as valuable in and of themselves, not for who they may be one day, that's really important, that you're honouring their experiences right now, that their play that they're engaging right now is fun and frivolous, but also of the utmost importance to them in this moment. And so engaging with them in this moment, how they are, is essential. And it's a key part of honouring children. And so one of the things, again, to think about this, I guess, theologically or in a church setting, one of the things we want to do in our children's ministry is to do exactly that, to honour children exactly how they are right now, to honour their playfulness. We're not just lecturing them and shaping them into who they will be in the future, though of course there are aspects of that. But it is much more important just to honour the way that I often say their God-given childishness. This 5-year-old is behaving in exactly the way 5-year-olds should behave. And so for me to scold them or to correct them or to discipline them because they're not acting like a 10-year-old when they're 5, but just allowing them to be 5 and express life, faith, play, joy, sadness, terror, whatever it might be, in a 5-year-old way, is to honour their God-given childishness in that moment. Yeah. And so I think what Bluey is doing is celebrating that. It's celebrating their childishness, and we would say it's a God-given childishness. They're exactly how God has designed them to be, and we should celebrate them in this moment.
I love that. Here's something I'd be interested in your take on. So I've said before many times that I love coaching soccer. And at the moment I'm actually coaching my son's team, who's under 12s, and my daughter is playing for the first time in under 6s, so I'm coaching her team. But I did come across something recently that said that children's prefrontal cortex doesn't develop to bring in abstract concepts until they're 11 or 12.
Right, yep.
And so one of my frustrations as a coach has been to see under 6s being coached like they're 12-year-olds. So people will tell them, this is kind of what you're talking about it for, it's just talking at them. So you just need to do this, just do this. They don't understand that. They have no idea. And then often some coaches get annoyed or upset at the children for doing that. But through doing it for 6 years and watching my son grow up and all the mistakes that I've made doing it, now when I'm coaching my daughter's team, I'm like, I'm going to make this all about play, but still it's going to have all these ideas of helping them teach something that I want them to improve at in soccer as well.
Yes.
So here's an example of a game, is that, I found this online, it's called Don't Wake the Bear. So you put all the balls in the middle of the field, and I've said that's the bear's food. You need to sneak up, and the bear, who is me or my older daughter lying down, you can't wake them up. You have to sneak up and steal it and put it back in your cave.
Right.
But here you need to be an animal yourself. So what animal are you? What animal are you? They pick an animal first. Okay. My daughter said she was a bin chicken. But I'm like, the bin chicken, you have to sneak up and get it, and you can only use your feet, but you've got to sneak up and take away. But then when the bear wakes up, now we're creating an opponent for you to keep the ball away from. So there's all these elements you can do. And so the other one I did with spaghetti monsters, and you've got like a pool noodle and trying to get the ball off them. They have to keep the ball away from the spaghetti monster that's trying to get what I call their space dog away from the... But I'm interested to see what you think about that, because I'm not saying, look, I did a brilliant job, but more I think this is something that, and you've talked about this even on your cross-formed Kidmin podcast as well.
Cross-promotion.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think we've got a lot of listeners from that podcast. So I want to say thank you to you, and thank you to everyone that's tried out the shock absorber as well. But the thing about elevating the child for where they are at, not speaking down to them and speaking at their level, I think that's something we should talk about.
Yeah, no, and then I think you're right. Like that playfulness, you are teaching them the skills without saying to them, I'm teaching you skills.
Yeah.
So, and that again honours where they are as under 6s, that's exactly right. And so that playfulness, they're learning how to do this, and they will learn eventually that this is actually part of the game, and that when they get onto the field, and you can say, remember, spaghetti monsters. And so they can go, oh, that's right, I've got to try and get it around and away from this person. And
well, sorry to talk over the top of you, but the thing that I'm going to try and do is like say, well, you're all the bin chickens today, and the other ones are the angry dogs, because there's another game we play with like angry dog is an opponent. So you're all the bin chickens, and you have to put the rubbish in that bin.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when they actually play a game, they're like, oh, it translates into
that's
that
right.
easily, rather than like, get on the field and score.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference between those two.
Absolutely. So rather than being frustrated, come on, why aren't you acting like you're 12 to the under sixes?
Yes.
Why can't you play like the 12-year-olds can play? It's like, well, because they're 6. So no matter how frustrated you get at them for not being 12, they're not ever going to be 12. So they're going to be 6. And so, yes, developmentally where they're at is playfulness. And so, yeah, absolutely. Like, so, yeah, it is part of honouring their createdness and their createdness in this moment is to honour the fact. And that's why, these looking at child developmental psychology and developmental brain studies and all these kinds of things will help us to honour children. And then adolescence, adolescence then goes to a whole new phase, which, you and your kids are just starting to enter into with your oldest. My kids are now sort of at the other end of, and just trying to think through, okay, so your brain is developing in a different way. Your hormones are going in different ways. Your interests are going in different ways. Your ability to process information is happening in different ways. And so, I could get frustrated at my 15-year-old for not being a 35-year-old, but that's not going to help me or her. But if I remember that she's 15, there are these things going on with her. There's also, as an individual, she has these particular strengths or weaknesses. And so leaning into those and just honouring who she is as God's image bearer is going to have the best outcomes. Now, again, we're always growing and developing. So spiritually, in faith formation, we are developing in our skills. So we are teaching and we are instructing and we are disciplining and shaping and moulding. There is still to use a technical word, there's a telos towards which we are headed. There's a focus, there's an endpoint to which we are heading towards. And as Christians, ultimately that's Christ. So we're all headed towards Christ-likeness. So it's right to direct in that way and honour them where they're at. So, and I think, looking at Bluey again, you see there is virtue formation, in those kids through the play as they play and learn to be kind to each other or to share their toys, or when one of them doesn't let their self-control come out but lets their selfishness or their whatever come out, and it ruins the game.
Yeah.
Now, and again, even in those moments, you get some conversation between Bandit and the kids, or the mum. What's the mum's name?
Chili
and the kids. So there is some parental instruction going on there. But again, they do it in not really in a preachy way, or even in the who's that famous American? Oh my goodness, mental blank in his name.
Did what? What did they do?
Kids TV show. Didn't really make it to Australia, which is why I can't think of it, but everyone in America knows him really well.
Oh, Mr.
Yes.
Is it Mr. Robertson? No.
Yeah, whatever it is. US listeners can get angry at me in the comments.
Well, I think we have a few more at the moment.
Yeah.
That's great.
As I said, didn't really make it to Australia, so we're not very familiar with it here. But he was still very, in his own gentle, calm way, was still direct teaching a lot of the time. So he did it through play, but he also did a lot of direct to camera talking to kids. I think the similarities are he didn't talk down to kids, he honoured them.
Mr. Rogers,
thank you. There we go. Took a while.
Yep.
And so Mr. Rogers doesn't talk down to kids. He honours them. He respects them. He respects their ability to engage in very serious and sometimes even controversial topics. And he is gently guiding. But he is more didactic than Bluey is. So he does do a lot more directive teaching than Bluey does. Bluey is all this play.
There's a bit where he does a washing the feet.
Yeah, there's a washing the feet thing with the
African-American
post office worker, I think it is. And during a time where there was still a lot of American states had black and white swimming pools, segregated swimming pools or change rooms or bathrooms or whatever it was. So, yes. But I think that, again, it was sort of a high point in children's TV, and people refer to it, affectionately for that reason. And I think Bluey's going to have that same kind of cultural zeitgeist, I feel, and same kind of high point.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask you about, because the headline of Perry's article is Bluey is the most conservative show on TV. And I was hearing you talk about how we're at different stages of our parenting journey. Your kids are older than mine, and how we need to adapt and understand where they're at that particular time. But also, as parents, and you talk about family ministry a fair bit as well, is that how do we maintain the gospel truths that are so important to us and think we must be held and maintained and conserved, as you might want to say. So when you read a headline like that Perry writes, and she does lean conservative or right-wing or however you want to say it, she does argue for conservative values. She has also said, I heard recently on a podcast, she's investigating going to church. She's friends with Christians.
Yep.
So there's a lot of those things probably impacting her writing as well. But when you see a headline like that, you actually said to me, "Oh no, don't code Bluey as that." That's what you said to me.
When you first said this in our chat, my eyes rolled into the back of my head. And I was like, "Oh, for goodness sakes!"
They knocked you out, did they?
Yeah. And I think my allergic reaction to it was, why does it have to be coded? Like, why does it have to be coded left or right?
I agree. Yeah.
And just the frustration of that we live in this hyper-polarised world where everything that we consume has to be, massively progressive left or massively conservative right, and nothing is allowed to exist in the middle, which is completely counter the actual population. So when you look at actual population studies, most people are in the middle. Most people have a mixture of some conservative-ish values and ideas, some progressive-ish ideas, and all differ house. They'll be felt stronger or lesser. But it's our media, it's our social media, it's our algorithms push us towards the extremes and coach us to code things left or right, and also coach us to hate the other side. So it's an antagonistic polarization. And so part of my frustration of this is like, oh, great. Like if it becomes known as the conservative show, then there's going to be the progressives go, oh, well, I now hate it on principle. I'm not going to watch that Bluey. It's that conservative show, And I'm just like, it's the reason it's got such high traction, and the reason it is, the highest downloaded show for the second year running in America is because it doesn't try to play into those categories. What Louise Perry is noticing though is that while it's not preaching particular values, it is itself set in something that could be coded conservative, which is, mum and dad, 2 kids living in suburbia, heteronormativity, family values, like all of these things that tend to code right and code conservative. It is that's the world that it's in. Like that just happens to be the world that it is. But not doing it in a really preachy way. So I think part of my frustration with this was that I don't want to have to code everything. Like but also...
But just politically or in any other way?
I think my frustration is because of our cultural moment, it is very hard to have a value or opinion, a TV show, a movie star, a music, artist who gets put in one of those boxes and therefore...
can't listen to their music.
Well, you can't if you're the other side.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with all the virtue signaling with companies. So, Apple or Adidas or Reebok or whatever want to virtue signal a particular, usually progressive, but sometimes conservative cause.
Well, the Budweiser thing was a good example of that.
Yeah.
Where they went very progressive and there was a massive reaction.
Now they've gone
far more conservative again.
Yeah. And again, it's driven by economics and it's driven by money and all of these kinds of things. But, like people regardless of how you vote or your personal values, you need to buy shoes. Why can't you just buy shoes? Like just buy the best possible shoes. But as soon as this brand virtue signals one of those directions, then you get the people who are like, well, I'm going to boycott Adidas now. There's no way I'm going to put those things on my feet because they blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to buy Budweiser because they're really progressive, or I'm not going to buy Budweiser because they're really conservative. And it's just ridiculous. So I get frustrated at that. I also get frustrated at the layering of Christianity against one of these ideas. Now, at the moment, particularly in America, Christianity codes conservative and codes right, though there are plenty of progressive Christians as well. And so for them, Christianity is coding left. They say, well, if you really understood Jesus, then you would understand that he would be on the side of all of these progressive things that I really value. And those on the conservative, no, if you really read the Bible and you really listen to Jesus, you realise that Jesus is really on my side of the equation and he really codes right with all of these things. And again, my frustration with that is, well, actually, the kingdom should be above all of that.
Absolutely.
And so, and what that means is there are going to be, when we live according to Jesus and we live as a disciple of Jesus and we live according to kingdom ethics, because of our cultural moment, there will always be some things that are right to conserve, and there are also going to be things that are right to push against and to progress. And that's just the nature of where we are.
It fits into the parenting discussion we're having too, I think.
That's right. Yeah. And so Christianity is not inherently coded right or left according to our current 2026 political ideology framework that we use.
Right. If it was like, what side was Jesus on in Roman times?
Yeah. Like who would Jesus vote for? And it's like, well, he wouldn't vote. He lived in an empire and he didn't have any rights. Yeah. So,
well, what if he's in Greece though?
Ancient Greece. Yeah. Well, is he a land owning, white male? So culture changes.
Yep.
The kingdom is above that. So our job as Christians is to always seek first the kingdom. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to seek first the kingdom. And so that will have different implications at different moments and also right now in different spaces. Seeking first the kingdom in China versus Afghanistan versus Zimbabwe versus New Zealand versus Australia versus Canada.
Oh, well, you went all over the map.
I'm trying to go all over the map.
You did well.
Putting the kingdom first is going to look different in all of those contexts. Putting the kingdom first in, let's go for a hard case like North Korea. Christians in North Korea putting the kingdom first going to look very different to putting the kingdom first in the UK. It's going to look very different to putting kingdom first in South Korea, where churches are booming,
right.
And millions of Christians in South Korea, where it's incredibly dangerous to be a Christian in North Korea. So we shouldn't allow the gospel to be pushed into one of these things. What we will see, and this will change throughout time and culture and place and space, is when we're putting the kingdom first, there will be things that in our culture right now that it is good to conserve. And there will be things in our culture right now that it is right to redeem and push against and therefore to progress. And one of the things I think about here is I think about John Walton when he talks about Genesis 1, 2, and 3. And he talks about there's the formed world, so God forms in creation and it's good. There is unformed, so there's still work for Adam and Eve to do in the garden. That there is land that is and work to do that is not yet formed. So this is the cultural mandate to go and subdue the earth and rule over it, and the cultural mandate sometimes called, because there are ways that we can explore the world, that we can explore, the sciences and the social sciences and all these kinds of things where we are forming what is unformed. God didn't complete the project. He set up the project and he partners with us as co-creators into this co-forming process. So that is even before the fall in Genesis 3. Then, because of the fall in Genesis 3, there are also things that are deformed. So you've got formed by God, called good. You've got unformed, things that God intentionally left not yet complete so that Adam and Eve could partner with him in the forming of these things. Then because of the fall, because of the fall, you have things that are now deformed, things that are broken by sin and wrecked. So thinking in those three categories, we will see those in all of our cultures.
Yep.
So in 2026 in Western suburbia, which is where we are, where a lot of our listeners are, there are going to be things that we notice in Western suburbia that are formed according to God's good design. And so those things, we would say, this is according to God's good design. It is right to conserve these things. There are things that are unformed. There are ways in which we don't yet understand all the medical benefits of X compound or this plant or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And so we get to explore science. We get to understand things in new ways. There are ways in which we can engage in the cultural project, which is forming that which is yet unformed. So again, historic example, penicillin. We didn't know that penicillin did that until we did. That's a forming, we are co-forming something that was unformed, we didn't understand, and then all of a sudden we can form it in a way by God's good design. He could have given Adam and Eve the instructions of how to make penicillin, but he didn't. He let us discover that through time and space and experimentation and etc. So we progressed our understanding of health by developing penicillin. So that was a progressive, in some sense. It pushed us further. It went beyond our current knowledge. And when the scientific consensus at the time was that there's no such things as germs, that it's smells and odours that make people sick, we progressed our scientific understanding of things by pushing into, no, what if germ theory is actually correct? What if there's something we can't see that is actually causing people to be sick, not just the fact that we're flushing all our sewage waste into the same water that we're drinking from? So they're progressive ideas. We're pushing forward. So there is always going to be things we want to conserve. There are going to be things that we progress further. And then there are broken things in the world that sin has wrought, that have been deformed, that we want to now bring God's redemptive plan to place in those things as well. And so again, the classic historic example is, the Atlantic slave trade, that we realised actually this is deforming, obviously those who have been enslaved, it's deforming our cultures. If they participate in this, it is sinful, it is corrupt, it is evil. And so it was progressive to say, we're going to stop transporting slaves, we're going to bring an end to slavery. All of those, took decades, different times in the UK and Americas and et cetera, et cetera. So was that a conservative idea or a progressive idea? Well, it was more progressive. But what this shows is the kingdom, we can't just label kingdom values as either conservative or progressive, as if you have to pick between them. Yeah. And we have to bundle the kingdom into one of those things. Because of God's good creation, there will be things that we notice that are good and is worth conserving. You think about some of the environmental conservation efforts. This is a good part of God's good creation. We shouldn't just cut down every tree in order to make more housing or more mines or whatever it is. There is a right conservation of things that already exist and already good. There are things that we can progress with that are currently unformed that we can form, and there are going to be things in our society which are evidence of fallenness and deformation that it is right to push back again and say, this is not good, and we are going to progress into further things. The hard bit is it's really hard to do that in the moment and to work out. And this is where I think we come back to the church and we come back to reading the scriptures together in community, and we get to talk with one another and work these things out in community to try and work out. And it's okay to disagree, but we want to come humbly and we want to come and talk with each other and say, hey, here's an issue that we see. Let's think about this Christianly. Let's put the kingdom first. Let's be really, really careful that we're not coding kingdom ethics as either of our political ideologies or somewhere in the middle, and then work out what a strategy might be on X issue.
Yep. Yeah.
That was a lot of talking, sorry.
That's all right. That's fine. Because I'm thinking we've talked about Louise Perry, and there's a number of other writers, influencers, content creators who we've talked about over the years of who are recognizing that actually, Christianity has a lot to contribute to society.
Yep.
And I think that's a lot of what you're saying. So we've mentioned Tom Holland before, Louise Perry's another one, Freya India is another one that we've mentioned.
Yep.
And there seems to be a, what's the right word? When things are very fraught in kind of a cultural aspect, that a seeking of something that is maybe more conservative, or maybe it's a reaction to progressiveness, is maybe that's where sometimes that comes from. But I'd also say that I found a video in regards to this, a video from one of my favourite authors, Robert Greene, I showed you before we recorded, where he talks about why religion matters. And I thought this interesting in kind of playing off what you're saying and kind of what we talked about with Bluey, is that he goes the other way and saying religion's, if I get his video right, religion is quite important because what it does is help you transcend the banality of life and actually take the focus looking at yourself and look out more outwardly. And another thing he talked about was the thing that he likes about Christianity is tolerance for other people and things like that. So that's kind of plays into things that we saw another video of Tom Holland. It was an Unheard live event with Nick Cave.
Yep.
And he was talking about, I call myself Christian because I believe in the dignity of human beings.
Yep. I've recognised that all of the values I hold dear are inherently Christian values.
Like the basis of that is a Christian, is what Jesus did, really.
Yeah, well, and because he's speaking as a historian and he's realising that actually before Christianity came to dominate the West, these were not human dignity as a universal idea was not something that the Greeks and Romans believed in.
And I remember something that Fee, who's been on this podcast, and she's in my Bible study community group, and I remember she said that there's the whole thing of what Jesus did on the cross and his resurrection. That's to save humanity from our sin. However, it's also what the cultural impact his death on the cross and resurrection has, which is treating other people with compassion and love. For example, we've talked about the women in the Roman Empire saving babies from exposure, for example. The fact that Jesus says, love one another. A new command I give you, love one another. That is completely world-changing. And we like to say Jesus changes everything.
Yeah.
But I think that's where perhaps Green is pointing towards and then Holland and Perry are all like, actually, we've pushed so hard to try and remove Christianity because we seem to believe that it is not beneficial for a society. However, we're now realizing one of the only reasons we can do that is because what Jesus has done has created something different in society where we can actually listen to each other and take care of each other, compared to maybe at the time before, when Jesus' time was, if you had a problem with someone, you just killed them. And that still happened over time. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but there is this idea of, and thought, and this of probably highlighting the innate image of God that we're made in, and that's brought forward more because of what Jesus has done on the cross. So then when Green says religion's true purpose is to transcend the banality of life, things like how comfortable we are, and I think it's quite a Western view as well, but how comfortable we are, what social media is doing to us, I find that quite interesting. So and I showed you that video, but then you also said something about, was it Skye Jethani, who he said something about, what was it, life with God, not from God, which I think was interesting, because we could take all these things, kind of what Holland's saying, all these things that Jesus has done, but we could take life from God. But even Nick Cave asked him in that video, are you a Christian? Do you believe in Jesus' life and resurrection? And that is life with God.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So you want to expand on that?
Yeah, so this is coming from Skye Jethani's book, With. The subtitle is Reimagining the Way You Relate to God. I've personally found it one of the most helpful, devotionally helpful books I've ever read.
And that fits with your theme of abide too,
it does. Well, yeah, and I mean, I read it years ago, and it's always buzzes in my head. of like, yeah, this is what I want, and I'm constantly feel like I'm striving towards, but never quite getting there. But Skye Jethani's paradigm is that he has these 4 postures that you could relate to God, all of which are a distortion of reality. So they sound kind of right, but they're not right. So life under God, this is a posture of fear and compliance. So this is God's the big judge in the sky, and as long as I just keep, my life clean,
my record
clean, I've got to do the right things, and then he won't judge me too harshly, but I'm kind of scared of him, and I act in the world with a guilty conscience and a fear that God is just waiting for me to do one more bad thing and then he's going to crush me. And so that's life under God. So it's a real fear-based, and a lot of religions have kind of built into this. And again, all of these have distortion threads in Christianity. So we've seen Christians who have lived this way or taught this way, and they're all unhelpful.
And a main driver of the Reformation, for example, right?
Well, sometimes, I mean, Luther, for example, he gets caught in a thunderstorm, and his big kind of conversion moment is he thinks God is trying to kill him, and so he had this kind of life under God kind of understanding. Now, as again, they're all distortions, so they all have something true in them, but that's been taken the wrong way. So it is true that God is judge. It is true that he takes sin seriously, but it is a distortion to think that we should therefore be always in fear of him, as in we're scared of him all the time. There's a life over God. So this is the posture of pragmatism. This is, I can learn the principles of what a Christian life is, and then I can essentially do life without God because I've worked out the system, I've worked out how he works. And sometimes the language of spiritual disciplines can get this way. Okay, so I just need to make sure that I pray, I meditate, I read the Bible, I Sabbath, I fast, I tithe. If I can work out all the right habits of formation and I can work out all the spiritual disciplines, then I can do all of these things and I'll be doing the right thing. The problem is that you can articulate all of those in a way where God is actually absent from the process. So I can read the Bible without God being in the process. I can meditate and gratitude journal, and I can, do all these kind of prayer type things, but without really engaging God. I can Sabbath well, which is good for my body, good for my mind, it's good for all those kind of things, but I can do it without God. The problem here is that you've kind of worked out the system and you've got, so if I just follow the systems, I can have life over God. I've worked out how to do this, and God becomes irrelevant to the way you actually follow your spiritual disciplines. Then there's life from God. So this is the posture of the consumer. This is the prosperity gospel type thing. Like I've got to pray the right things, and I've got to maybe tithe the right amount or worship the right way, and then God will give me the things that I want. And the danger here is that we want God for what he can give us. We don't want God for God. So I only want Jesus' gifts. I don't want Jesus. And so the main reason I'm a Christian, the main reason I pray, the main reason I go to church, the main reason I do the right thing is so that God will give me good things, which breeds in us, consumer mentality. It can also breed a real disappointment with God when he doesn't give us, and we're like, hold on, I kept up my side of the bargain. I've been to church every single week this year, and yet you still let me get sick, or you still let this person I love die, or you didn't uphold your end of the bargain. And that kind of posture shows us that we actually just wanted life from God rather than just
holding him to ransom there, aren't we?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, that's not fair. Come on. And then the last distorted view is life for God. And this is the kind of the activist, and this is the one that I think myself and others who are in religious ministry can be particularly prone to, is I'm on mission for God. God must be so stoked to have me on his team because look at all the things that I'm doing. And the danger here is, I think of the scariest verse in the Bible in Matthew 7, where there's the people who turn up on Judgment Day and say, Lord, Lord, didn't we do all these great things? Didn't we cast out spirits and heal people and feed the poor and all in your name? And he goes, go away from me, I never knew you. And they'll be cast into judgment. Wow. And it's like, whoa, like that's, for someone who is engaged in Christian ministry, that's a terrifying verse. But again, it shows me that I can do a whole lot for God and for his kingdom and think that therefore he owes me or that therefore that I'm right with God. And that again is a distortion because it doesn't mean that I'm right with God. And that verse shows that you can cast out evil spirits, you can heal the sick, you can feed the poor and not be right with God into eternity. And so they're the four distorted views: life under, life over, life from, life for. And the whole book is then oriented towards the second half where Jethani says the key thing is life with God. This is what we're trying to do. That it's actually about having a relational connection with King Jesus. Now, how this relates to Robert Greene is he, and I think a lot of these others who would say that they're cultural Christians, you know, you get the Tom Hollands, you get the Jordan Petersons, you get the Douglas Murrays, you get all these kind of people.
Dawkins said he's a cultural
Richard
Christian.
Dawkins, he's a cultural Christian because he doesn't want...
he likes Christmas.
He likes Christmas, you know. And he likes carols and he likes the King James version of the Bible and he likes Evensong because it's beautiful, it's transcendent. But none of them, as far as I can tell from what I've heard, none of them want Jesus.
Right. Yeah.
And this universalizing language that Robert Greene is using in this video is this idea that, religion is great because it gives you transcendence and it gives you peace and it gives you meaning and it gives you an ability to rise above the banality of social media. And I would say, all those things are true, but they're all life from God. You want him for his blessings and you don't want him. And so I think all of these people who are skewing Christian, or culturally Christian, and some of them are, a lot of these names, sort of are more on the conservative side, some of them are on the more progressive side. But all of them are seeing the value of religion, in scare quotes, not the value of Jesus. And the problem with Jesus is that he claims exclusive loyalty and faith in himself. That Christianity is not just about having a nice sense of transcendence. It's not just about being able to rise above the banality of social media. It's not about having peace of mind because you're able to Sabbath and gratitude journal and meditate. That's not the power of religion, though that will be the fruit of many people as they live with Jesus. The goal of Christianity is Jesus. And if you are not satisfied with Jesus, then at the end, all those other things are going to fall away, right? And you're not going to be satisfied with them. So there's the one side of me that thinks, well, it's no wonder you find value in those things because they are the fruit often of a Christian life. Because when I'm with Jesus, I will sit and pray with him. When I'm with Jesus, I will see his kingdom and my relationship with him as more important than scrolling TikTok. And so it will give me a sense of purpose and meaning that rise me above the banality of social media. It will give me all of these things that he talks about, but it's because you're pursuing Jesus, not because you're pursuing the fruit. And that's, I think, the key difference. So as I'm listening to Robert Greene, I'm thinking, you want religion for its fruit, but if you're not interested in Jesus, then you've missed the whole point.
Minus Jesus.
Yeah.
So before, I think we've talked about like Jesus plus.
Yeah.
Like I want Jesus plus I also want these things that contribute to it, like add doctrinal stuff.
The flourishing. And
this is almost Jesus minus.
Well, it's minus Jesus.
Yeah, minus Jesus.
It's Jesus plus without the Jesus.
Yeah. So it's just plus.
And so, I had a conversation with a friend a while ago, and he said, "Is it worth going to church even if you don't believe in Jesus?" And I said, "Okay, tell me more about that." And he's like, "Well, there's all these studies about community and prayer and routine and friendship and going to church is good for your mental health and it's good for your psychological and emotional health. It's good for your physical health. There's studies that show people who go to church regularly live longer. Like there's all these benefits." And so he's asking, is it worth going to church for all of those benefits, even if you don't believe in Jesus? And again, this is kind of, I want the fruit of Christianity without Christ. And I was like, well, probably in the end, it's not going to be satisfying. And I think for those kind of people, yes, go to church because, my prayer for you would be that you would find Jesus, not just the benefit of community and friendship and emotional stability in your mental health. But if you're not looking for Jesus, then, okay, I mean, you might have slightly better mental health for the next, what is it, 3 score years and 4 score years and whatever that phrase is, Abraham Lincoln. You might have better mental health for 80 years, but then you'll spend eternity away because you were never interested in life with God. You just wanted the benefits. And so that's why, we should be pursuing Jesus and life with Jesus as the key part of this. And when we seek the kingdom, all these things will be given to you as well, which is a beautiful promise to hold on to.
Yeah, I think of our friend Lewis, who's also been on this podcast before, but he came to church for almost 7 years, I think, before becoming a Christian. But it was, of course, the community and the other benefits that came with it were attractive. But the point was, he's a very close friend of Ethan, our youth mission pastor. And Ethan was like, well, why are you still here? And you need Jesus.
Yeah.
It's because the one thing that you're missing is that you need Jesus. And now Lewis is a Christian and he has gone to Bible college.
And as we've talked about, our theology, strategy, practices of Soul Revival Church has led us to really valuing community.
And time with each other.
Because we believe that Jesus changes everything. We think the best way to help each other and others understand Jesus is to share the truth and love of Jesus, person to person, generation to generation, in long-term, low-key relational community. And that we'll do that by discipling each other to be on mission for Jesus. And so all of that leads us to the conclusion. People can go back in the feed and listen to our theology, strategy, practice of different aspects of our life together. But when Lewis comes in as a non-Christian for 7 years, he's reaping the benefit of this community, which for us has been very intentional outworking of our love for and knowledge of Jesus and our obedience to his commands to meet together regularly and to spend a long time with each other. And so he's seeing that. But yes, it was good and right for him to get to a point where this isn't just here to meet your social needs and your emotional needs and your psychological needs and your friendship needs. We are doing this because we believe that Jesus changes everything.
It's a spiritual needs over all.
That's right. I mean, ultimately, we're all broken and we're all sinful, and we all need Jesus. All have sinned and fallen short of God, and all are saved by his grace. So we need the person. And so for the people who are coming along to our community for a while and experiencing the benefits, this is great. I'm glad that you have friends and that we've provided that for you. But we want to keep pushing people to, but what do you think about Jesus? Because actually he's why we're here, and he's shaping the way that we do church together.
Yep. I love that. And again, that's why we spend so much time together. I'm looking forward to church this weekend. That's for sure. Tim, it comes to the last part of the podcast, which is your segment, of course, which we call Tim's Takeaway. Now, we did talk about takeaways being a Bluey episode.
Yeah.
Do you eat Chinese much? I don't actually eat Chinese food that much.
No. I feel that certainly in our area, I feel like Thai has taken over Chinese as the go-to takeaway.
I had Thai this week.
There we go. See, it's much more normal. I don't know. That's not quite the right word.
No, much more ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Well, that's a good word.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Well, give us a few more in Tim's Takeaway then.
Tim's Takeaway. Everyone should ride the metro in their city.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Come chat to me. We'll go for a ride together.
Tell us your favourite metro in the world in the comments underneath.
Oh, that's a good call. Wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Favourite metro / subway, single deck train.
Yeah.
mass transit.
Single deck, it has to be single deck. Is that the?
Doesn't have to be, but it's really what all subways are.
Yeah, right. Okay. Key takeaway: seek first the kingdom
before anything else.
Before anything else, that's key. Before we get to politics, before we get to polarization, before we get to parenting, before we get to coding things in particular ways, seek first the kingdom through Jesus. Jesus is, and life with Jesus is what we're designed for.
I love that. I love the life with Jesus. I think that's such a cool way to think about it. Thank you to Skye Jethani for writing that.
Skye.
Thank you, Skye.
Comment in the link below.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Thank you, Tim. It's been great. Enjoy this podcast thoroughly. And if anyone's listening or watching, you can catch Tim on the Cross-Formed Kidmin podcast.
Yes. Oh, actually.
Oh.
I'm going to promote.
Oh, you're promoting something.
Yeah. Cross promotion.
We're doing a lot of cross promotion.
Yeah.
Yes. If you want to read more about Tim and other people on parenting as Christians.
Yes.
What have you got there?
By the time this podcast comes out, the volume 2 of YouthWorks' Parenting in God's Family book is coming out on Friday.
You've got a chapter in there. And
I have a chapter on here. All of these chapters are about how you can parent well and how you can lead your family well. And so all of it is very family-based and household-based. And then they asked me to write a chapter on why your family needs the intergenerational church. So I kind of then flip it right towards the end and say, yes, but your family is never enough. You actually need the community of God's people.
Yeah,
so
it's good. I read that chapter this morning. It was very good.
So Parenting in God's Family, Volume 2 is available for pre-order. It'll be released, if you listen to this on time, it'll be released this Friday.
Where do we pre-order that?
You can pre-order that at youthworksmedia.net.
There you go.
.au.
Well, check that out if you want. If you want to send me an email, and I can send you the link to that too. That's joel@shockersorbit.com.au. Drop us a comment on our YouTube channel because it helps us with the algorithm, or just smash the like button. Leave us a review.
Smash it.
Leave us a review if you like. But most of all, we appreciate you listening or watching us today. It's been thoroughly enjoyable, Tim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel.
And as always, we finish with a one way.
One way.
One way.